This is a tutorial for Year 1 students on how to draw an environmental section for their urban cabin. So I did this because I had a few questions about how to do this. As a reminder, you have two submissions to do. First, the environmental site analysis of your depth first site, and secondly, the environmental section of your urban cabin. And this is what we're going to talk about today. So it needs to show sunlight and daylight and ventilation, but also other things. We'll discuss that in a minute. So in order to do this, you first need to draw a section. So this is a simplified section of the urban cabin. And this will be showing your environmental design. So it doesn't need to be to scale. Normally, you will show a north-south section. But some of the students have chosen to show east-west sections, which is fine as well. It needs to show how your building is going to be comfortable both in summer and winter, and how you ventilate and light it. So you may choose to draw several sections or just one to show everything. So for example, you might have a section for summer and winter separately, or you could have a section showing ventilation and another showing light. In terms of the format, you can use collage or hand drawings, but if you haven't got the tools at home, you can also use computer tools or a tablet to draw this section. So first of all, ventilation. There's two kinds of ventilation. So you can refer to my lecture on Moodle about this. But we have mechanical ventilation. So mechanical ventilation is where we're using a fan to move the air. And there's natural ventilation. And this is where the air moves naturally through windows or other openings, like roof lights, for example. And in natural ventilation, we are not using a fan. So natural ventilation in summer helps to keep the spaces cool, so without the use of air conditioning. And it can be, the movement of the air can be caused by heat, because hot air goes up, or it can be caused by the wind. So you can have single-sided ventilation, natural ventilation, just through one window, but it's better to have two windows where the air can go across the space. Mechanical ventilation is what you need if you do not have a window. And it's normally used in the extract hood of a kitchen as well. So when you have mechanical ventilation and you just have an extracting the air from the space with a fan, there's going to be air coming in to the space. Here it's coming through the trickle vents of a window or under doors, for example. So your task will be to represent the ventilation in your cabin. So you need to show how you will use natural ventilation for the summer. The air needs to enter and also to exit the space through the windows. So the air can enter and exit through the same window, but it's better if you have two windows in one space. The air always goes up when it gets warmer. So the air wouldn't go from the top window down, it just goes up when it gets hotter. If you have spaces that do not have any windows, like for example, if you have a bathroom which has no windows or no skylights, show how the air is extracted with a fan. The other important and very obvious thing is the air does not go through walls. You shouldn't also ventilate through doors. You ventilate through windows because it's not practical to have an open door just for ventilation. So here you can see they have ventilation windows at the top here so that the air can go up. So this is a little bit more of a complicated drawing, but you can see there's gaps for the air to go through. Now sunlight and daylight. There's a difference between sunlight and daylight. So first I'm going to talk about sunlight. Sunlight is the direct light from the sun. It makes shadows, very clear shadows and very clear patterns of sunlight. The sun's rays are parallel and they come from one direction only, which is the sun. Now here the sun rays don't look parallel, it's just because of the angle. In London, on the south side, the solar altitudes, which is the angle of the sun from the horizon, is roughly 60 degrees during the summer solstice at 12 o'clock, and is 15 during the winter solstice at 12 o'clock. Daylight is the indirect diffuse light, which is reflected on buildings, on the ground, on clouds, etc. So daylight enters through all of the windows, including the windows on the north. It is diffuse, meaning that it comes from all the directions, and as you can see, it doesn't do clear shadows. It's just diffuse daylight coming from all directions. So generally you will show the daylight from the north on your drawing. When you do your section, make sure that you take into account the buildings and other cabins that are around your cabin. So generally, if a building is less than twice its height away, it will cause shading. So if you have a building that's quite close, it will cut the sunlight. You will also need to represent if you have external shading systems or if you have blinds to prevent to have too much sun during the summer. So generally we tend to have horizontal louvers or overhangs on the south side because they help best with sun shading. So in order to show how your shading works, you need to really carefully think about how the sun enters inside your space, given that sun rays are parallel. So here we're using, so the north is this way, and we're looking through this window. And as you can see, the sun rays are all parallel. This is the summer solstice, so it's roughly 60 degrees from the ground. You can see all the sun rays are parallel, and the sun doesn't go through walls. So you can see here we have quite a lot of sun entering this space, and we can have a shading device like louvers or a horizontal overhang here can help reduce how much sun comes through the window. Now you need to show on your section the sunlight and the daylight. In this section here, I'm only showing the summer, but you will need to show both summer and winter. You might decide to show them at different times on different drawings. The sunlight in summer, direct sunlight comes from the south and also the east and west. And diffuse sunlight is drawn from the north side. You can see that the diffuse sunlight or the diffuse daylight is shown blurry here because it's diffuse. It comes from different directions. You can also add some more information if you want. This is optional on your environmental section, like for example the heating system. So here we have underfloor heating. You can show artificial lighting. You can show how you're using thermomass. So if you want to do that, you need to refer to my lectures on Moodle. Any mechanical ventilation extracts. You can show the views to the outside if there's nice views. Any green roofs or whatever you think is relevant in terms of environmental design. Finally, remember that you need to make sure that your design works. So you need to ask yourself, are there enough windows to make sure that there's enough ventilation and daylight? If not, you might need to add windows. Do you think it might get too hot in the summer inside the cabin? If so, suggest a shading system to help reducing heat gains in the summer and show how this works on your diagram. All right, good luck. I hope this is a useful tutorial, and please don't hesitate to contact me if you have any questions.